more interactive. And when I say more interactive, we used to laugh when we used to think about that word interactive back in the day. And when I say back in the day, I say about like early like 2000s. I remember seeing that around on stuff. You only see interactive on stuff that you're about to learn with. And I give you a prime example, like interactive leapfrog or interactive word skills. It was always that word interactive that made you want to just go be intrigued with it. And then the thing that made me mad with it sometimes, I'm like, did it always just stay to education? Did it always just stay to a sense of it just had to stay with documentation of a higher structure? And that's what made me question about what we call now the metaverse, because this is a new place that is showing that interactive. And being interactive, man, is not just in a place of just being educational or being in a place of entertainment value. To be interactive nowadays, it is to interact. And that's what technology does, folks. It has to interact with human components to, hey, that's how we get to use this technology in everyday life. That's how we are interactive now with different methods of using technology. From just when we used to be on the cell phones with it to now we can sit here and be in front of each other, not even physically, but hey, in a technological sense. And that's what makes this platform that we're on today, man. And one of these individuals I'm getting ready to bring to the stage is really showcasing that about to really be in this adaptation that we're in now, you have to be interactive. And I am so proud to bring this individual to the stage, man, because we have to learn certain inventions to really make that formula so somebody else can make their own solution. And especially being in this day and age, the metaverse is just not being on the headset. The metaverse is just not sitting there being in a component of you have to be away. No, the metaverse is staying in a component of being still interactive, still being immersive, and not even as that, still being a component of technology where it's still in front of you and you have to interact with it. And I'm so glad to bring this man to the stage tonight, man, because I say this is a conversation that's been way overdue, like a library book, from my third grade teacher. But man, Miss Parkinson, I'm gonna get it back to you. But yes, man, yes, I really need y'all to throw some confetti in the air for all my people at home and all my people in live, man, for the great Nic Hill.
Hey, what up?
Yeah,
Let me get
yeah,
to the
yeah.
stage. Howard, thank you
How
for
you
having me
doing?
on, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming through. How are
Yeah,
you
my
doing
pleasure, man.
today?
Yeah, doing good. I'm like glad it's Friday. I'm tired.
that's
What about
that's
you?
that's oh, that's the same here. Same here. I mean, it was a productive week. Productive week. I got to spend it with my kiddos. My little one, she had tubes put in her ear this earlier this week, so we wasn't able to do anything until like yesterday. Like she healed up,
Okay.
and went to go to the little jump house yesterday. So I'm like, my legs and everything are hurting
Oh
now.
no.
So I'm like, been a while since being jumping, but yes, Friday is always that wind down. I was able now to sit here and man, get this great show going, and not just that, it's the recalibration of the weekend. Like that's the best part to me. Get to sit down, probably catch some movies, and chill
Yeah,
out. That's why I love to do my
yeah.
show on Friday night.
Nice, man. Well, I'm super happy to be here. It's an honor. Thank you for having me. It's cool. We met first at AWE
Hmm.
last year, and then we
Yes.
talked about, you told me about your show. I was super interested, and I was like, yo, I got to check this show out. And then it's almost a year later, you're having me on. So really appreciate
Yes.
that. I'm stoked to
And
be
that's
here.
what and I thank you. I thank you for that. That's what I mean I love about being in this I want to say this industry now, because a lot of things, like I said, it's my famous, that's what I always say, like Rome wasn't built in a day. And that's like especially too like how busy it shows how it gets on your end and on my end. But that was just so amazing to me. I remember because having a conversation with you. You was telling us like at AWE, like, oh yeah, man, we're doing this, but it goes on a pace. We probably get ready to go do a project X. And literally, like while I was talking to you, was like, yeah, well, then we gotta go get ready to go do a project. and
Yeah.
like, and I kid you not, and I think like right after then, that's when I seen with your company, y'all release with the Fortnite server,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. So we
first one.
did the Sinners activation on Fortnite to promote the new film, and that was through Warner Brothers. Hired
Mm.
Sawhorse to build that.
Oh, and I'm so sorry, folks, man. I'm so sorry because again, I want to have people love to explore. I mean, explore and talk about with their company. Can you explain to the people that's tuning in, man, what is Sawhorse? I didn't want them to think there's just something like cold crazy. And they're like, okay, we're gonna get cut up now.
Yeah. Yeah. So to give some context, so Sawhorse, we're a creative agency and we've been around for 14 years. And
Mm,
we started basically just telling brand stories in the form of video. So brands were hiring us to make short form content, little web series, commercials, pre-roll ads, just finding ways to like get their messages out in creative and organic ways. And during the pandemic, we had to kind of expand our capabilities to survive because we weren't able to be on set filming celebrities and creating content. So we did a ton of live streaming work, which was cool. But then what's really exciting is we started building 3D immersive experiences for brands in immersive ways on platforms like Roblox. And the first thing we built was Aloe, the clothing company, mindfulness
mm-hmm.
company. We built their world on Roblox, had some massive success. And ever since then, there's been more and more brands trying to figure out how to activate on these platforms. The majority of what we do is on Roblox because they have such a massive user count there. But we also do Fortnite and Zepeto and Rec Room. And right
Mm.
now, we're currently building a couple projects for Horizon.
Oh, hey man, hey, see, you hear that? You hear that night? I got to get the exclusive with the Howard Hour with that. But no, that's amazing to hear with that for me because that was what made me more with intrigue with this industry that we're in because with the first format I was seeing with that, like not besides with being on Roblox. 'Cause I remember my son, he's a Roblox head, and to sit there, he's like, yeah, Dad, I can wear these clothes and everything. And I mean, that's when I was also seeing that's when I was doing your Walmart merger and everything. The thing that really stood out to me was your company when y'all did with the branding with the Beetlejuice movie.
Mm,
That right there really like stood out to me like so much because I was on my headset messing with that while my son was on a mobile device like messing with that, and that was just so amazing that we was able to like again like back in the movie they like hop on this and like hop into a small establishment like being in the movie. And my son was just so fascinated with it. He was able to, show me like where to do the ticket process. And he's like, "Yeah, Dad, so
yeah,
we
yeah.
we got to buy the ticket here so we could go and see the movie." And I was like, "You already know about that again, about that interactiveness." And I remember just being younger, we had to watch for like certain like Easter eggs or so like that, or we had to wait for the website to get up to find that certain click on the hyperlink or so somewhere that's hidden in the screen or what to find that type of like immersion, or you thought like you was the goat when you found like certain codes or anything. And I
Yeah.
mean it's amazing to see that type of format because I mean that what makes brand. I mean Pepsi did it, a lot of these brands that with the famous the code, the top with the code, or you can get the famous jet, that nobody ever got the jet,
Yep.
but but no, to stay true to that formula and that format that really showcased about like how just not like about how advertising can go like into the future, but the future of advertising. Because to really be on a platform again, a gaming platform at that, and have a real life interaction to like still get to a tethering with technology again, like you were just saying about with the centers formula, man, that right there was just amazing to me. And then I got to play on the server a couple of times. I think we even had one of the actors like popped up like on the server, got to play in a circle with us. And I'm like, man, this is what makes this interaction so real. But not even is that's what makes the branding real because right after I'm hearing a couple of people talk, oh, I'm gonna go check out this movie now. Like
Totally.
they all they do is play Fortnite. So to really hear that's a different like demographic now tapping in, that's what makes that real tethering. And that brings me to my
Well,
next question. I mean, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I mean, that's why that's the whole purpose is the oldest rule in advertising is go to where the people are. Meet
Mm,
them where they're at. That's like really important. You can't advertise in a vacuum. You can't advertise to a place that people aren't in. And traditionally, advertising has been happening on the radio and TV and in standard forms. And now that's sort of shifting into gaming because young people, almost everyone who's younger, is spending way more time on immersive platforms when they consume their media. So they're not watching TV, they're spending less time on social platforms, even. And it's all about immersive gaming, UGC gaming, social gaming. So it's like
mm.
the brands and the movie studios are saying, I need to be there. I need to reach these audiences. So that's why they're putting so much effort and energy into, building experiences and showing up there.
And that's what makes that real tethering aspect. Because I was telling this to everybody, I remember like again following this movie for like almost a whole year because of the cast and everything. Not even just that, but I was just loving like the interactive behind it because I have friends who are filmmakers who was already talking about, man, do you know this is the type of filming that hey that Oppenheimer only did to like to now into interaction. I got more intrigued with it when I was able to play on the Fortnite server, and I'm like, man, this made me feel like in the movie. And I was just telling this
Yeah.
to my son. I was like, because the whole killer part, yes, man, I watched a little bit with my son, but I didn't watch killer parts. I just watched some clips. And one of the things that like stood out to me because we watched the movie together, and it was just certain parts. I'm like, yo, I'm like, hey, son, we walked through there or something, or hey, so
Yep.
like, hey, that's the that's where they're dancing at and everything, and to really have that about that means just like having the headset on your face, and we're sitting there doing this in front of a like it's maybe a 2D apparatus. So I could just imagine when it gets like, immersed on the headset, like how one of my favorite things is Ready Player One, but they show them like they're literally in the movie The Shining. And like it's like
Mm,
really to
yeah.
that point about like you're going through the movie, like instead of like I mean just watching the movie in a stationary base, but you're like doing the movie. You have to touch, certain parts or so, like to really have it keep
Yeah.
continuing. Or and I mean
That
that's why
was
I see what Mhm.
Yeah, I would love to like double tap on that for a second. It's just you're talking about like deep immersion
Mhm.
into feeling something. And that's what movies are in general in my opinion. Like movies are
Yes.
immersion. These are immersive experiences. Like you go to a theater, and what's so amazing about movies is there's almost no technology. You're
Mhm.
literally staring at a flat screen, and you feel immersed because of the sound and the picture. Where you kind of forget about reality. You're in a dark room, and you're just staring at this picture, and it has totally taken over your attention. Where you're just so ingrained and connected with that. Imagine what that's like when you're in a 3D immersive experience. It's going to be even more deep. And I think that's one interesting thing is like Hollywood has not really leveraged VR as much as they should. And also the technology of VR, imagine what that's going to be like in 5 or 10 years. So I'm excited to see where like where the studios and the filmmakers, how sort of interactive filmmaking and storytelling starts to evolve. I think we're all lucky to live in a time where we're going to start to see this stuff come together like in the next 5, 10 years, and it's going to be
Mhm.
mind blowing.
And no, and that's what I was getting to. I mean, next one. That's why I'm like, this is a good conversation, because that is what I was loving about what you guys do with your company, like because it's showcasing that not even just about with that tethering of bringing a brand, but that tethering of this is like new technologies that's going around. Because I was seeing that y'all did guys. I mean, y'all did stuff with, like with graffiti, did stuff like with the Beetlejuice movies, and not even as that you're touching indentions where people are able to sit there and feel a part of the submersion. And with that, I mean, that is a hard aspect to do at times because a lot of times when that happens, especially in the IRL presence, you don't have like the right budget at times, or you cannot get to that. So a lot of times you're not able to meet with the cast or meet with the crew. So to sit here in this like day and age, like where you could like tap a button and really be like immersed like that, that is really is what making this whole technology thing that's mind baffling, because I could just imagine what it would do like with entertainment sense, with the concerts, all this, especially like what you guys like really have like a name behind, and not even just that, like with virtual storefronts. Because that was gonna bring me to my next question with
Mm.
you. Do you feel like with this branding and everything, it will make it more accessible? With I mean, since it's being more immersed, do you see like it makes it more accessible, like with the storefront, like people will not have to want to go in like IRL to sit there and check out their packages? Like I was seeing something like y'all did with the Walmart that you was able to check out like a 3D like
Yeah.
replica or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting, like commerce, right? I think
Mhm,
right. Okay, first off, we talked about the metaverse a second ago, and you
mhm,
talked about Ready Player One, right?
yeah.
And we got Snow Crash. All this science fiction concepts of what the quote unquote metaverse is. It's so amazing. It's so immersive. The quality is so high, and it's like it is 1 million times more advanced than what we currently are in. That doesn't exist. We're not anywhere close to hitting that. but we will
Mm.
be in like 5 or 10 years.
Yes.
And I think once we are in that space, then everyone will be coming in from different backgrounds and doing all kinds of things there. But right now, the metaverse is UGC gaming platforms. And what are the people doing there? They're mainly playing games
Mm.
and socializing. So my point is, they're not going there to shop, right? This is like Amazon works great. You can buy stuff on your phone, you can buy stuff on your computer, or the real world works great. The mall, people go to malls. Like this stuff all works. But my point is, right now with commerce, it's really interesting that commerce is coming into these UGC gaming platforms,
Mm.
and they're making commerce and shopping available for the first time. So this is like a new behavior for the user base and the players. And it's going to take time for them to start to realize that, like, oh, wow, I can just shop. If I'm going to spend, 2, 3 hours, playing social games and doing my entertainment, I might also pick up some things I need to buy in my life and just buy them here. But it's going to take time for that behavior to come about.
That personalization factor, because I mean you have to. It's just I mean like in the famous with advertising, you have to relate to what you want to buy. And I mean, I noticed that like with a thing with growing up, I mean, it's like the famous, like you, if you see your favorite rapper or your favorite athlete, you always want to see like, okay, hey, I want to know what the shoes he got on from, or to like, hey, the famous headband. To even to a point where you're in a platform now, you could sit there and put on to emotion. Like I was just seeing the thing about from WrestleMania. I was telling this to my guest last week. WrestleMania had a thing with John Cena because this is his farewell tour and everything, and they had his when he went heel. Well, basically, if you don't know what heel is, when he turned to the bad guy,
Mm,
and they have his whole outfit from when he turned to the bad guy, like the whole get up is from his shoes, of shorts, and everything. Well, his jorts for $75,000. And I was sitting there just so I mean, because I know somebody's gonna get that. Don't get me wrong, but that just showed me. So I'm like, I can just imagine a fan right now, like, oh well, hey, I want to sit here and try it on. So I can just imagine, like in the virtual
hmm
aspect, sitting there in front of like a AR mirror or so. Hey, let's see how this headband will look on me. Or hey, let's see
Right.
how I look in this shirt. And I mean, that
Yeah.
brought me to like when with the Roblox aspect. I don't know how long my son was on there at times, really putting together a outfit for a box character that like I got
Right.
me. I'm sitting here just like by seeing the
It's
connection.
important. It's important to him. He cares that he's
Yes.
spending time here. He's spending time with his friends. He has to represent himself. So his
Mm.
identity, he has to stand behind it and be like, yes, this is how I want to dress, and this is how I represent myself and this is how I feel comfortable. It's hugely important. And think about this. Like, if you can just click one button and buy IRL and it gets shipped to your house and now you have the same shirt. Like, I, I don't see a world where that isn't like prevalent and everyone does it.
Hmm.
I think it's just going to take a little bit of time because most of the users there, they're not going there to shop. That is not their purpose quite yet. But I would make the argument that, like, if you're spending so much time in these platforms, why would you leave to shop if you could just do it while you're already there?
No. And I mean that is a good example of that because one of the first like indications I seen on that like with Meta Horizon, because that's the platform I grew on here with, like since being on here since 21. I was seeing about like the indigenous when they started bringing advertisement in here. Like one of the my things I say for like it was the Wendyverse. When they brought
Yeah.
that in here, that was like so. It was a factor see because they had a code in here you had to use, to really go to your Wendy's or what so to get like some chicken nuggets or anything. And just about like how VR is just so like rare and everything. I did that code down here in my area, and at first they thought I was running a scam or so. Like so, I had to like bring my headset up to their like place, like show them like from the headset, like, hey, this that is right here now, from your company. This
Yeah.
is at all like all locations. And again, they was like, this is on the headset.
Yeah.
And I like that like right there. And I was like, how you just saying, like, yeah, sometimes advertisement, like, or sometimes branding is ahead of its time, but the technology is still behind it. And but it still has to go like coherent with it. And
It's all new, right? This
yes.
is all new stuff. It's like every single time we do one of these activations and we connect it to the real world somehow, there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of like clunkiness when you do it. But we're going to get to a point where they're going to remove all of that barrier to
Mm,
entry and make it super smooth, where like brands do this all the time. Of course, they have a Roblox presence. Of course, they have a Horizon presence, and then they tie it back to their core business in a seamless way without even thinking. Like that, every brand is going to do that. If you look at the trends of like where young people are spending their time, it's all on these platforms. They're not watching TV. You know, TV is going to go away. And what are the brands going to do when this happens? Where are they going to be?
Oh,
They're going to
that's
be here. They're going to be in gaming.
yeah. My son made a joke to me because I was watching regular TV with him because I was phasing him out the YouTube phase out here because I caught myself with that too. Like I will only watch TV and everything now. Like when I want to catch my favorite show or so, or if I want to, probably catch my news. And it got to the point like I was watching TV with my son, and my son looked at me and said, "Dad, can we skip through the commercials?" and, and I really like I just thought in my head like, "Whoa!" Like you say, skip through the commercials, and it's crazy. Like we're so now like in like with Indigenous now like we're used to like, hey, okay, just pressing the button to skip through commercials that we used to really have to wait like 5 to like
Yeah.
good minutes of airtime. You really have to like that's how these people are getting their money. That's how this
Well,
is able
that's
like
like with my kid, it's like he's 5 years old and he has pretty much only done streaming. As far as how he
mm-hmm,
consumes entertainment,
mm-hmm.
we don't even hardly ever watch live TV. And if like we're watching a basketball game or something and it's on live TV, commercials come up, and he literally doesn't understand like what the commercial is. He's like, "Why are we watching this?" He's like, "Why are
And
we
that's
watching this?"
and this
This
is why I
Tide
say when that
commercial.
person
What?
and when
What
I
is
say that
why can't we just skip it, right?
I don't know why was a delay like that. I'm sorry. It had me like talking while you was over. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
No,
no
that's
worries.
like that personalization is like really real with that because how you say like at certain times. Again, I remember being younger. I'm only a '90s baby, but I remember this growing up. Like there were certain things like that made me love like X-Men more because I was able to see like, oh well, hey, they have an X-Men like a Wolverine action figure. So like you're seeing another kid play with it to the aspect now like you have like our kids and everything watching now. These kids are not even playing with it now. They're showing you, hey, this is the toy that I got. You can do whatever you want with it. You do whatever that you want to put your mind to with it, but you have to see me play with so you can get your review with it now. And I'm like, that is a commercial. But how you say, but now it's in the streaming base now. You have these certain companies that see that, like, okay, hey, we have kids that don't want to have to sit there with that span now to watch this 30-second of promo. So let's like bring it to them. Like, and I
Yeah.
love that fact because now you have that decision to either choose like if you want to like indulge and make get it with an action figure, or if you want to indulge of like getting with like fashion or so. It's not that fashion. Like you have to go to certain channels now to find these certain commercials, or you have to find like a
Well,
certain time
that
frame.
totally. I mean, that's one thing I want to talk about is like
Mm,
how intrusive commercials are, like on
mhm.
TV, and they're
Yes.
almost looked at as like a bad thing. It's like, oh, you have to sit through the commercials. We have to deal with this commercial because this broadcast is free, and like now no one really likes them, and like we just deal with them. That's negative, right? Like I
Mhm.
like to turn advertising into positive, and that's
Mm.
what we're doing when we build these immersive experiences, like the Sinners experience. That was an advertisement, but did it feel like one?
No.
Right? So isn't that cool? Like, isn't that better?
And then that's what's crazy part about because again, like with certain parts from that, my son, again, just watching from like reels and everything with me and all that, like he's seen for certain clips, and he's like said the same thing to me. Like we're playing the game, and then like when we watch the film or so, he's like, "Hey, it's not the same person that was sitting there saying, hey, they senators are coming," and like
Yeah.
it's like it will resonate with you now because now it's that mercy thing. And one of the things that always stood out to me was that I show my age when Spy Kids 3D came out. And I say this to everybody, but they was like, yes, interactive. And then you said the same thing. Like you get up there, you're watching the movie and all that, but then like you take off the glasses, it's not making no sense to you. You got to have it for your eyes and everything. And then when you put on the 3D aspect, you're seeing the stuff come to you in the promo. And I'm like, oh, the first thing that popped in my head, oh, I want one of those suits or so. And then like it made me go and buy like Halo or think or so. Like it's certain things like that. And I remember like finding out like later Robert Rodriguez, like he had inspiration from the Halo games and
Yeah.
like to show that. And I'm like, man, this is like, well, again, branding is really something that's so intriguing. So I see like what they said back in the day about like, oh, that's why people always wanted a Coke or so because they seen a person holding Coke and like what they was doing. The dad's working on the car instead of like Bud Light, he has a Coke.
Yep.
Like it was like
Yep.
Coke and Pepsi War. You always seen And it brings me to like one of my questions with you. While being in this day and age of like showing promo, showing advertising, do you have a, I guess, a favorite part about this now because it's like more immersive? Like, do you have a like a distinctive style that you like with this now, or do you feel like it can still grow?
I definitely think it can still grow. I don't think there's any blueprint for how a brand can show up in immersive
Mm,
experiences. And I think one of the things that's interesting is it's all about properly integrating into the space in a way that's non-intrusive. So when a brand shows up, I think the wrong approach is to make a branded world from scratch, right? And then
mm,
make it not very interesting and expect all of the user base to go to that world and have a fun time. My question would be like, why would they go there? There's all these amazing games and experiences on these platforms. Like, how, as a brand, can you show up and offer real value? And I think a lot of that is when you integrate into other experiences and you find ways to put the branded, your brand or your elements inside of those things and those places where the players are already doing. And that's
mm,
so organic. And I think the user base and the audience like really appreciates that and they get value out of that. They don't
mm,
feel like they're being marketed to, and then they have a positive connection and response to the brand. So like one thing that y'all give an example that happened recently. It's not a project that Sawhorse worked on, but the Mentos, you know,
okay.
the snack food,
Yeah,
uh,
the mint, right?
the
I
fresh
forget
maker, the mints. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
freshman. Okay.
So they did a big campaign on Fortnite, and
Mm,
what they did is they created the bazooka. And I don't know if you saw this, but it was like a bazooka that it was
yeah.
based on the old sort of meme that the people have done with Mentos for a long time, right? Which you take the Mentos, you put it in
And you
Coca
put in
Cola, and then it
cocoa and
explodes, right? Yeah. So basically, they made a in Fortnite they made a Fizooka, which is this massive like bazooka that's branded Mentos, and it shoots out these huge like explosions based on that old sort of thing that kids would do. And then they brought this Fizooka as a weapon into three or four of the top maps on the Fortnite platform, and then it was even they went even further to be like it wasn't a weapon that damaged players, but it knocked down like buildings and walls,
hmm
and kind of was totally in line with the gameplay. So, in my experience, in my opinion, I felt like that was such a genius way to integrate a brand and show up in a way that the users are like, this is a weapon that I would use. This makes sense. This looks cool. It's fun, and it's like I need to get that weapon to succeed in what I'm already doing here. And to me, like that's a great way to show up. But I think it just goes to answer your question is like that's just one way to show up. There's so many different
hmm
games, so many different experiences, so many different platforms. Like you just have to really understand those platforms and figure out how to organically and authentically, as a brand, show up in a way that the users are going to appreciate. And that's what's so fun about this. And that's so different than a commercial. Because a commercial, standard commercial, like a video commercial, it's like 30 seconds. It's just me telling you about my brand and why I'm great.
And only
And
like your relationship to it, like type
right,
format.
exactly. So
Hmm
this is just deeper and better and non-intrusive, and it's offering real value. And to me, like that's the future of marketing.
Oh, that's man, that is real. That brings again my mind just right here, dog, like turning gearing wheels. Because I remember you talking about that weapon, and now so I remember my son just being so fascinated with learning about Mentos and Coke. Also, and I remember like when he got so excited when seeing that format because I remember on the game or so like with that like with the building, so they didn't have like no that they showed like literally it was like fizz and stuff going everywhere, like like you would do from like with a Mentos and Coke, and that shows that tethering aspect with I say with either with an educational factor or an entertainment factor, because now you would sit there and either learn about okay, what is Mentos, what is this, okay, why do this interact with soda or so like that. Now you find out that you're in a rabbit hole finding out science and everything. Now it really makes like real tethering, and that's what I see now with promo, especially being in this day and age with AR and XR components. Like it's really, I say it's fascinating, and I also like well you touched on about being intrusive. Like I say it's scary too at times because now we have, like you say, you're in this day and age. How do you go about the unwanted promo and like advertising?
Mm.
Because in this day and age with this technology, how do you gear away from that? Like, well, the promo and everything that could be harmful, or is there
Yeah,
certain guidelines that you have to follow by?
that's a great question. There's like so much to unpack there. Like,
Oh, I told you I did my
I,
homework, man. So,
no, it's great. It's great. It's a great question. And it reminds me of, there's a few things. Think about from an augmented reality AR perspective, like you brought up. We
Mhm.
walk around in our real lives and in the real world. There's going to be a layer of AR opportunities for everybody and for brands to leverage.
Mhm.
And it's scary, right? It's like it could be dystopian. It could be like Blade Runner.
Mm.
I mean, all that, although it looks really cool, from a sci-fi perspective, I think it's
Yeah.
sick. But at the same
Be
time, like,
overwhelming.
yeah, you don't want to just walk down your neighborhood street and have a massive Coca-Cola ad floating and being, on top of like your view, but it's like
Yes.
these are all real issues that we're going to face. And then to take it one step further, I don't know if you saw Black Mirror. Do you watch that
Yes.
show?
Hmm.
Yeah, the new season, the first episode of the new season is all about like sort of sending messages into people's minds and having them read out advertisements, which all of this is intrusive and unwanted. I feel like if those examples are a parallel to current commercials on TV, it's like we're
Yeah.
just gonna monopolize a portion of this and force you to take it, and I'm not a fan of that stuff. I'm a fan of like, well, how do we integrate it more seamlessly so it adds value to the consumer? So one example would be, I don't know off the top of my head, but like finding out a way to target that individual, serve them an ad that's relevant to their lives, but then put it somehow integrated into what they're doing. So it's not
Mhm.
just a pop-up that goes in front of their face. Like you have to kind of think outside the box to be creative to figure out how to seamlessly integrate it in organic ways. But when you do that, the audience or the person, they don't have a problem with that. They appreciate it almost. It's a lot harder to do and it's more bespoke. But I think as far as value goes, it's way more valuable to the brand and to the
Mhm.
person. So when you do it right, it's like this is the best marketing in the world.
Mm. No, that's and this again. I'm a movie head, and we was talking about it earlier with Ready Player One. That was like one of the conflicts on there. It was like, yeah, man, we have this much eye space and everything where you can do promo, all this and that. They say even to the point, well, but without inducing a seizure. I'm like, what? Like at first,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, I started thinking too. I'm like, whoa, okay, I could just imagine. I mean, we do it when we're on the computer where we have a click up or so, that. Oh, you do the famous click. But I could just imagine in the base, you have it in front of you, a click up. Oh, dun 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 dun. Like then, especially coming to a like when you cannot perceive it yet because again you have to translate the message and then a lot of times too when you have that can become an overwhelming factor. That's when the famous people I say the famous person will say, oh, I think this is too much, I don't know what to get, or I feel like this is the famous, they're shoving this down our throat. And I
Hmm.
remember always hearing that in that aspect because in certain times when a brand is really like when it's oversaturated and not even as that but there's a lot of times when a brand is really being a genius with marketing. And I love that you're on the platform where y'all could really showcase and distinguish that because you're letting more of the people decide if they want to mess with this brand. And I think that's what makes the best part about with this technology aspect. They are still developing their own view. Like, okay, I'm just seeing it pop up here. I'm seeing it pop up here. No, to sit here and interact, like you can sit like I'm chasing around Beetlejuice, like trinklets and everything with my son. That's building a relationship value now because that started from a brand construction to even to the point now, like you could have like a game night or so. Oh, like, oh, hey man, we're doing this like with Sinners, and then you could go and see the film like all together in the aspect of still like merging of like you're having fun, still construction, social construction, but not even just that. You're still feeding into the brand. Hey, you bought a movie ticket. You didn't have to sit here and go like somewhere. Like you found different realms of still that integration that is like happening with branding. And it brings up one of my final questions with you. Do you feel like with this immersive storytelling now, with this more interaction, it's gonna like go way beyond. I mean, it's gonna go more with longevity, or is it gonna go more into the consumer hand? Because I say now with this freedom and everything we're having with this coming on, do you feel like that's
Mm.
going to take away a lot now from the creative side, like with the filmmakers, with the developers and everything you know who make this their plateau?
That's a great question. I mean, look at like the Web 2 revolution with
Hmm.
YouTube and social platforms. I mean, it kind of democratized filmmaking and entertainment creation.
Hmm.
But look, we still have movies, we still have TV shows. So like, I don't think that fully immersive platforms and UGC gaming platforms are going to like totally destroy the way we traditionally create media. I
Okay.
think it's just going to open up the door to more. It's going to democratize. It was definitely democratized video game creation. Like that's what we're living in right now with the UGC gaming revolution with platforms like Roblox and Fortnite and Horizon. Um, but I think that just more and more creative people are going to be building more and more content.
Hmm.
And immersive filmmaking, immersive storytelling, immersive gamification. You're going to see that, and especially with Gen AI. Like where people that are maybe less artistic or a little less creative can build a world quickly. With Horizon had their new update where you
Yo,
can
that Gen
create.
AI.
Exactly, Gen AI. So it's like I want a spaceship. I want aliens. I want a game to function to go like this. And if they're just asking for that to happen and it's being generated in real time, you can see how we're gonna have a ton of new, cool creative content that a lot of people are making. That said, some of the best artists in the world, you know, if you put the right type of resources in their hands, they tell the
Hmm.
best stories that move culture. And I feel like that's not going away. I think, like the best artists in the world are still going to, band together, gather resources, have a lot of money and energy behind these projects, and they're going to, be big cultural moments that have real value. So, I guess that's a long-winded way of saying like uh,
Hey.
yes and yes. It's like there's a ton of more content, a ton more people making stuff, and it's more democratized. But we're still going to have an industry behind it that's kind of similar to what we see today.
I know, and I say I asked that because again, I say I know this man. He's a busy man. Like I said, he got meetings all day. Um, it brings me to because I just got to talk to Mr. Ori Embar, and like he's the founder with AWE, and one of the things he like it really stood out to me. He was talking about XR is mainstream now, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people was like, looking at that construction like, well, hold on, it been mainstream. When I'm like, when he really broke it down, when it's like which really it's mainstream now because you have more content creation, you have more developers coming about, you have more interaction, you have more immersive, and not even just that, you have more immersion that's going way beyond just the components of this now. Like they had companies I've seen on here that do from the social construction of having shows and everything on here to even you can sit here and have like your favorite comedian be in front of you to an aspect of like like hey, you could buy their DVD or so, or like you could learn like certain like I've been in a comedy class on here that they teach you like how to do certain paces. So I could just imagine now with the exploration, I mean not exploration, but the exploring of more branding wise, I can wait to see what you guys creative agency showcase more with that because y'all were showing that well, that diversity with hey, we are leaving it to the creators, but this is
Mm.
still in a brand that the creators are bringing these brands in. They know that you
Yeah.
know that merger has to go all upon this platform because it's just not going through the hand of being the creative agency. We have to have the creatives come in. That's how
Yeah.
just like a football player and everything. But no, I really say big ups with that because that's amazing to see that format. And then again, to see it last year when I met you at AWE, I didn't even know anything about with Sawhorse to see like a year of like learning, of studying, but not even as that of watching you guys grow the way that you do in this platform, especially with technology. It is mind blowing. And I say, no, I love to see that because that's what makes technology. That what makes that foundation. That's what I was saying earlier. That's what makes me made my set more interactive. I maybe not to sit here with buttons and everything on here. And I said, I never thought about doing that to no aspect. And no, and I say it was all from the wonderful people, man. Shout out to Lux Vision Studio. I say like my cameraman and everything there. But before I even have you leave though, do you have any projects or anything that you can talk about that you got coming out? And are you doing AWE this year?
Yeah. So I mean, we're doing a million projects all the time. A lot of the
Mm,
things that are upcoming we can't talk about, unfortunately,
yes.
because they're under NDA. But
Mhm.
I will be, well, a couple things. Like we are building on Horizon, which is exciting, you
Mhm.
know. So that's a big one. Can't give the details there, but like Sawhorse is
Hey.
currently building some rad stuff here, which I'm super pumped on. Um, and we will be at AWE. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and we'll have a booth there that we're sharing with VR Chat, our friends at VR Chat. So, like,
Hey.
anyone who's going to be around, stop by because, yeah, we're collaborating on a couple things right now.
Man, I was just at an awesome party. Shout out to the wonderful, if I'm not mistaken, Scott. Uh, yeah, I want to say Scott. But I was chilling with them and BR, Alex and Skiva, man, in Vegas at CES, and
Okay.
man, I fell in love. I fell in love with their platform, and we was at a video arcade all night, like just like uh,
You got
there's
to
a
hit
lot
me
of
up next time. I
collaboration.
was at CES. I didn't know you
Hey,
were out
that's
there. You got
see,
to hit
that's
me
what I
up. I
mean.
go to all
Like,
these things.
like, yeah. So, yes, we it was a video arcade party, man, and that was when I was able to meet some of the founders from VR Chat, and that what made me more dive into their platform because being on this Metaverse platform, I was like, man, I really didn't get on VR Chat that much because I thought it was only like a lot of kids and stuff on there, and then the dude told me he's like. They do have an 18 plus button. So like, man, but no, man, it's amazing to hear that factor, man. Before I even have you leave, can you let the people, wonderful people, know where they can find the work at, man, and like anything if they just want to like stay tag along?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want to learn more about Sawhorse, you can check out our website. It's just sawhorsela.com. Check it out. It's got all of our traditional work on the video side, all of our immersive, interactive work as well. So check that out. And also, I want to plug my immersive marketing podcast that I launched a
Yeah.
few weeks ago. We're 11 episodes in. It comes out every single week. It's called Brands in Play. So you can just search brands dash in dash play.com. And yeah, we interview, it's, like you interview all kinds of interesting people in the
Yeah.
marketing space. We've got people from brands and people from agencies and everyone. So it's
Man.
amazing. Just check it out. And yeah, Howard, just want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. It's
Oh,
awesome.
I think yes, sir. No, I thank you. I thank you, man. And hey, we are linking up again at AWE. I told you I'm not missing out on any invitations this time. I got my calendar all open, but no, not even is that. I thank you for what you guys do for this platform, and I say, hey, any way the Howard Hour can help, man. Not even is that like, yes, man. Say yes, horse collaboration, but no, man. I just love to see the way that y'all, transverse on this platform, and big ups to the many years of success to come with this, but not in that the many years of innovation to come behind this. And I say
Thank
thank
you,
you for the
man.
big ups. But yes, folks, man, y'all seen it, man, y'all heard it here. With innovation, you have to really be in a space to really build, create, and not even just inspire. But with that, you can sit there and become a consumer. And with becoming a consumer, you can sit there and you have to consume. But you choose what you want to consume, folks. So either it's going to be bad for you or be good for you. And a lot of times when we're in this day and age, with this day in tech now, you can sit here and really decide what's good for you. And they say in other times, man, a lot of stuff is not good for you, but it's good for you in moderation if you really know how to really spread it out. And that's what we do with this thing called technology. To even to the points of, hey, how we said earlier, you don't even have to be in a commercial to do a commercial. As long as you can relate to it, many other people gonna probably relate the same way. And that's what makes it go into a positive mainstay. But not even as that, folks. You follow a dream that you want to craft, and you can see how much you can build. It's not Minecraft, but it's a lot of building, a lot of blocks that you have to pit around, man. And hey, it all starts with you. And man, I say this all the time. Say this all the time. Stay great at what you do. You could be your biggest component, or you could be your biggest opponent. You look in the mirror every day and determine if you want to be great or if you just want to wither away. And hey, man, just like a flower, you can still sprout up and do what you have to do. Make that enrichment value because you are staying true with that formula. But up until next time, always what I say to you. This is your boy HT Howard 702. Let's get triple like a kid, untie shoes. Thank y'all for rocking with me because I rock with you. Spread love, not hate, and positivity is the way. Only we can make this thing, be great. And that's you. Up until next time, and your presence is a presence. Let's go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.